Hello and welcome to Camp Xtras. Spider-Man started on the PSP with a decent effort with Spider-Man 2, but moving forward, what was Spider-Man going to bring to the console next? Well, it would be Spider-Man Friend or Foe, and let's check this out and see if we can get a truly great Spider-Man game on the console. I'll give you some history and lasting impact along with my review. All footage was captured off of a PSP, and let's go ahead and hop into this one. So this game is an odd technicality in what Spidey game came out first. On console, Spider-Man 3 came out first on May 4th, 2007, but that's for every other version except the PSP, which would come out on October 16th. And funny enough, Spider-Man Friend or Foe was originally announced in the manual for the console versions of Spider-Man 3. But this version would come out 2 weeks before the PSP Spider-Man 3. And I don't know why two Spider-Man games came out within 2 weeks of each other on the PSP, especially because they're both Activision titles. It feels like one could have waited, but I guess they felt like that was the best way to go. Once announced in that manual, the new website was up for Friend or Foe. Artificial Mind and Movement would be developing that game, a team you might know better now as Behavior Interactive. So I have to ask, Behavior, when is Spider-Man coming to Dead by Daylight? I need to know. At this time, Artificial mainly worked on product tie-in games for portable systems and sometimes consoles. They were specifically working on the DS and PSP versions of Spider-Man Friend or Foe, which would be a part of a massive lineup of games for them that year, with games like Drake and Josh, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and 3 High School Musical games. The DS version was built from the ground up, but the PSP version would be similar to the console version, even reusing some of its assets. When shown off at E3, outlets like IGN noticed that it was pretty standard, but it could appeal to a younger crowd with designs based on the movie, but in a more cartoony style. Unlike Spider-Man 3, the PSP release of Spider-Man Friend or Foe would coincide with the console release on October 2nd, 2007, with the game hitting DS, PS2, Wii, PC, and Xbox 360. I have zero experience with this game, any version of it. It's just one that I kinda skipped out on. But I was interested in seeing all of the Spider-Man games on PSP, and so here we are. I played it recently, and let me break down how I felt about it, starting with the plot.
What the? Spidey, what's happening? If this day gets any weirder, I may have to scream.
Spider-Man opens with what you'd expect, with many villains fighting Spidey. Yet at the end of the fight, these symbiote androids convert the villains into being under their control. These are phantoms who are terrorizing many cities across the globe. You must hop around to different locales and stop each villain there. The twist in this game is that once they're not mind-controlled, they join forces with you because they seek revenge. A fun twist on the normal Spider-Man formula. This allows you to play as Spidey and villains like Rhino, Doc Ock, and the Green Goblin. The plot does a good job of embracing something that would be seen in comic books. It's simple and full of fun villains. You get fun side characters like Nick Fury popping up to direct you to each area of the world. There's a silly side character that's a computer that just makes fun of Nick Fury the whole time that's kinda funny. It feels comfortable and doesn't offer a ton of stakes or tension, but this is more aimed at children anyway. Much of the humor just doesn't land in general, but if I was a kid, I think it could have worked. The reveals on who is behind Phantoms are apparent, but once again, you get to see some more awesome Spider-Man villains. I don't think much of the dialogue is riveting or groundbreaking, but it does well enough. I think it's fun enough to make the whole experience entertaining and comfortable, like reading a good comic book. Friend or Foe goes for a top-down beat-em-up style that was ever present at the time. You move from area to area, beating up bad guys, and then you just move on. The combat is painfully dull. and every character only has 2 button combination hits. You also get 2 super moves, which can only be used when a certain bar goes up. That's it. And it loses interest so fast because of that. It reminded me of a Lego game without any of the charm. You have 2 characters you swap between, and you can also co-op between 2 PSPs, which is cool. But unlike Lego, there's no puzzles or anything special. You just beat up bad guys and maybe hit a switch on the wall. And that's repeated for hours. This was a familiar game mechanic for anyone that was part of a younger crowd at the time, but I don't even think many kids would enjoy this game. I don't think it's entertaining enough to even hold a child's attention. You just punch enemies repeatedly and then just repeat that. Even on new levels, the enemies might look different, but they behave the same exact way. Levels don't change either, and usually have you just hopping a little. You get a web swing, but I never saw a use for it. It just moves you around a little faster, but it feels really stiff. And I guess it feels okay on the PSP. Controls really aren't the issue here. Punches and kicks work well on all characters, and the movement on the ground is fine. It's more that they decided to take the most uninteresting route, which makes me really dislike it. It's so cool that you play as the villains, but they don't do anything different besides just have some new animations. No matter what this game gives you, it's just the same gameplay and the same uninteresting levels over and over. There's an upgrade system to give you more health and power, but the game is so easy it doesn't matter. You get mini games, but they don't change the gameplay. That's exactly what's missing from this game, a sense of freshness. This game is far from having anything interesting. It went for the easy route of just making a brawler, but that can work if you incorporate good variety and some fun puzzles. But they went for just action and nothing else. The basic gameplay is tiring after 30 minutes, and then you have hours more of it. It felt like a game I would usually put down and never return to. It's not offensively broken or anything, it's just the gameplay does nothing interesting. One thing that does work in this game is the voice acting. I think Spider-Man sounds perfectly quippy and fun, his writing is spot on, and though never bringing any real laughs, it's at least entertaining. All around, the villains are voiced very well too, embodying the personas that they would have in the Sam Raimi movies. Without good voice work like this, it could have made the story miserable, but luckily, they help make it fun, though the rest of the sound work isn't great. The music is pretty much non-existent. The mini levels have a weird quiet ambience where you just hear your footsteps, but nothing else. It feels off and strange. Why would a game like this lack music? There's music sometimes, and though it's not great, it's better than nothing. It makes the punches and kicks stand out more, and those are poor. They sound too crunchy and compressed, and I hate ragging on this game this hard, but this one has so many issues. The look itself is okay. The motion cutscenes are good, but there are a lot of picture slideshow cutscenes that I feel like are a bit of a cop-out. The system can do much more than that, and it feels like a holdover of the GBA era. This game looks solid on the PSP though. The footage really just doesn't do this game much justice. On the PSP, the lines are crisp, and it does have a colorful comic book look. The biggest issue is the relatively flat and plain environments. They don't offer much of a difference in each section, and they're not very creative. They have boxes for you to destroy and some places to jump, but I hope for something more kinetic. It feels like it was a cheap game to produce, and it's easy to tell. I'm sure it's not hard to tell, but I did not like this one. It plays okay, but the gameplay is stale and uninventive. You do the same thing in the first minute as you do the rest of the game. Never once does it ask you to do anything that makes you think, or just anything different at all. Even with the excuse that this is a game for children, I don't think this is even entertaining for kids. Bland environments and a lack of music make this feel like it was either rushed or just cheaply made. Nothing is broken here, so there are far worse games on the PSP, but there's something painful about playing a game that only does the bare minimum. What a step down from Spider-Man 2, and I hope Spider-Man 3 does a bit better. On my ranking list of PSP games I've covered so far, Spider-Man Friend or Foe firmly goes in at the very bottom. Every game here is far more entertaining and replayable. Spider-Man Friend or Foe across all consoles received mixed reviews, and the PSP version was no exception. With a 58 on Metacritic, not many outlets chose to review this version. IGN did, and they gave it a 4.9, calling it lazy and offering 0 challenge. And I'm not sure how popular this game was or how well it did with the public, but looking at backlog for an aggregate sample size, it wasn't well. The website only has 64 people claiming to have played it, and it has an average of 2.4. Most reviews give it a 2.5 and they just call it average. I know the console version has its defenders, and let me know if you enjoy the PSP version or if you enjoy the console version. I would love to hear from you. Even with this though, Spider-Man would of course keep chugging on, and a few more Spider-Man games would come to the PSP. So I'd say overall, nothing was hurt from the poor reception of this title, except all of the poor people who had to play it. But that does wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, it really helps me on the algorithm. Comment below with any memories of this game or any of the questions I posed in this video. Subscribe to keep up with content like this, and be sure to check out my main channel, Camp Xbox, for all things retro Xbox. And I'll see you here next time at Camp Xtras.